Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Rome Floyd Chamber Small Business Spotlight. This is Rome Business Radio. I'm Roger Manus. We're broadcasting from the Hardy Realty Studios on Broad Street in downtown Rome, and we work in cooperation with the Rome News Tribune.
I'm Carly Parker with the Rome Floyd Chamber. We also today on our podcast have Pam Power Smith, who is the president of the chamber.
A smattering of applause for Pam.
You have an applause button.
Yes, I do.
I didn't know you had that. You should use that more often.
He did. He has a bunch of different ones with like a horn and stuff.
Let's see what else we got here.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, let's introduce our guest.
And
our special guest.
The star of the show today is Chuck Shaw with Gallagher.
Yeah, that's better. I like that.
It's more, yeah.
Hi, Chuck Shaw with Gallagher. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are hunky-dory, as we say down south.
Good deal.
So we're going to talk insurance.
Exciting.
It's riveting.
It's riveting.
Just as exciting as like college football is or something. But
Carly and I are convinced that this is going to be a very exciting episode.
It will be, because we make everything exciting, and
That's
it's great information.
It is,
and everybody needs to know it. So actually, I know you guys wanted to talk about this. There's a chamber initiative going on, and you're updating members and all that. What made us invite Chuck today?
Yeah, I should probably let Carly talk about this because she's the one that helps administer. But so for a couple years now, the Georgia Chamber, in conjunction with all the smaller local chambers in the state, help provide health insurance for very small companies. And Chuck Shaw here is with Gallagher, and they help administer that. So you actually go to a local broker to get that insurance. And we'll talk about all the specifics of who qualifies for that.
There we go. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about
just
that.
go ahead.
So there's a lot of different types of health insurance plans out there, and I think that's what the people get confused, because it's a lot of minutia. There's a lot of moving parts. So the chamber, what they did,
and it seems to change every year.
Yes, it does.
That's true,
It changes
yeah.
every year. And so what the chamber did, they were smart. They said, how can we help small businesses cut through all that and make it easier to help insure their employees for medical insurance? They do offer other insurance. I think it's dental, vision, and a life insurance benefit, but really the medical is what people are looking for. And by doing that, the chamber has basically put together a plan where the way it is rated means the way the premiums come up, is a simpler way to go about doing that process. It's outside of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, so less fees, less guidelines. It's basically an association plan. You have to be a member of the chamber, technically the local chamber or the Georgia chamber, to be a member of this plan. So the employer has got to be a member of the chamber to even have the opportunity to enroll in the plan that the chamber offers.
Okay, so basically, so you got a small business, you've got three employees, and healthcare can be this thing. You want to offer it as a benefit, but you also got to keep your doors open.
All right.
So cash flow is a big problem, but yet you want to offer it. So this is a way to alleviate the larger expense if they were to go do it themselves. The chamber is help absorbing it by combining small businesses
To make one big group.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I think we were told on Tuesday, I think there's 50,000 members in this group now. So this is a large self-insured association plan that chamber members can join.
Does business genre matter? Dry cleaner versus broadcaster?
Nope. Does not matter.
No broadcasters at all.
That is the one caveat, no broadcasters.
Well, that's kind of like my dating life. But it doesn't matter. It's about the chamber affiliation regardless of industry.
That's right. You've got to have 2 employees, and you've got to be a member of the chamber. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
And we say 2 employees. It cannot be a husband-wife. It can not be the 2 employees. Husband and wife can be on the plan, but we've got to have another employee if that's the case.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So, and what are the premiums? How does it help financially? What's the bottom line?
So basically, the premiums are rated based on the medical experience of the group. So in most situations, well, in all situations, they do the medical underwriting. That's always the tricky piece, because back in the old days, we had to fill out applications. Everybody, Carly, Pam, let's fill out applications. Tell us all about your medical history, your prescriptions, and then we come back with a rate. Well, now that's done by a company. Well, it's called GRX. Basically, they pull our prescription information through a medical records, basically, of what our prescriptions are, and they base the rates off of what that GRX report looks like. So it's based on your medical, but it's really based on your prescription utilization. And that is the rate that you get. So there is no application that you have to complete to be a member of the Smart Chamber plan. But they are rated. So ACA rates, this is where we get into the weeds and it's boring. But the ACA rates are
way to warn people in
yeah,
advance.
exactly.
That's
Hey,
good.
everybody take a nap now. Come back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, that makes for riveting content. Just
I'm good at this. I'm good at this podcast thing. Put everybody to sleep. ACA, basically, you're rated by zip code and your age only. So if you're in Rome, Georgia, zip code 30161 or 3165, we have a rate, and then you have a rate based on your age. And so if we all four came together, it would just be zip code, zip code, zip code, age, and that's our rate. It has nothing to do with our medical. We could be on our deathbed.
Actually, didn't know
I
this.
didn't know that.
What if Carly and I smoked 10 packs of cigarettes a day?
You would be very unhealthy, but your rate would be the same.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It doesn't matter.
I get those questions a lot. Like, does smoking, like a normal health, like if someone went to you and you kind of have to do that,
Right.
does smoking
Fill it
matter?
out.
And I was
So-
like, I'm not sure. I mean,
It's a good question.
I think so.
Right. But on ACA plans, it does not matter. And that is the inherent bad part of the ACA, that it has nothing to do with your medical. So over time, the rates increase. The healthier people are paying the same rate as the unhealthy person.
Right.
So what the chamber has done, and this Smart Chamber plan, is taken that off. And now we're saying, hey, we are going to rate you based off your medical, basically, background,
History, yeah.
but more around your prescription utilization. And that is the rate they use. But now, if I'm smoking 10 packs a day, my rate is going to be higher because I'm probably on some type of medication for high
Right.
blood pressure or cholesterol or something like that.
What about street drugs? I'm teasing. what about
Did you get it from a pharmacy? That's really all that matters.
Keep talking about prescriptions.
Only
Okay.
trackable. Ones that are trackable.
All right, so this is a service you guys at Gallagher provide for the chamber?
Well-
or how does this work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, the chamber sponsors the plan, and you've got to be a member as the local chamber. And we're a broker that helps, basically, as a broker, helps employers get to that plan. So we're not the only ones that can do that, but we have a lot of experience in doing that. So in our local area, there's not that many that are participating brokers that know the ins and outs of the Smart Chamber plans, and that's really where we come in.
All right, when did this become a thing?
3 years ago.
Okay, so we're it's the first I've actually ever heard of it.
Yeah,
so
they're relatively new.
We're getting the word out.
That's right.
And is it starting to get legs here locally?
Yeah, I mean, Carly can speak to that, but I think it's definitely a selling point for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't know what a chamber does in the first hand. And then when I go into detail about, we're the biggest advocate, biggest cheerleader for and then we add on these other benefits with the health insurance, their eyebrows get really high. And they're like, really, can I do that? And I'm like, absolutely, anyone. I can send you over to Chuck Shaw, who's my best friend, and he can answer way more questions. I always tell everyone, I'm like, I am not an insurance agent. I just know we provide it. It's a great plan. We have about 36 people that participate on it right now.
36 groups.
Yes,
Yep.
36 groups. And as of right now, a lot of people just did not know that. So that's the point of the podcast, the point of us having workshops and getting Anthem.
Thought y'all just wanted to visit with me.
Yeah.
We just wanted to hang out with Chuck this morning.
On a rainy day. Why not? Talk insurance.
Yeah. So, has it been your experience? Everybody speak up. That a small business person considering starting a business, sometimes they start crunching the numbers and they go, "Ugh,
Yeah.
can't do this yet. Can't." But this helps.
Yes.
This would be something that, oh my goodness, this helps me get to my goal faster of opening my store.
Yeah, we feel like our philosophy behind group insurance, specifically medical, is small businesses will get better long-term employees by offering group insurance. Because what's happened over the years, the cost has escalated so dramatically, people have cut that out, and turnover has increased due to that. We think if you offer a good, solid, like a Smart Chamber plan, group insurance plan, you're going to have a better long-term employee by doing that.
And that's what it's called, the Smart Chamber Plan.
Yep.
And it's available through this chamber, the Georgia State Chamber.
Yep.
But and also any small
Any
chamber.
chamber.
Yeah.
Yep, any chamber.
Do other states do this?
They do. There are a few because it's through Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield. A little bit of history. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Georgia was purchased by Anthem years ago, And Anthem owns, I think, 14 different Blue Cross Blue Shield systems in different states. So that's where these Anthem smart chambers are. It began in California. I think they went to Missouri. I think Georgia was the third state to start it. And I think there's others since then. But not every state has a smart chamber plan.
Okay. So, but that's not the only benefit that we wanted to talk about 401k and things like that. Have we exhausted this topic, or is there more to learn?
Well, there's a couple more things I definitely want to mention that I even learned. If your base company is based in Georgia, and I'm looking at Chuck to make sure I have this correctly.
Hey, Carly, she's going to be a salesperson by the end of this.
But if you have any remote workers that are outside of the state of Georgia, they can still be on that health insurance plan, which is huge nowadays. I mean, after COVID, not a lot of people went back into the office. So to try to get more workforce, as we're learning, that's really hard to do.
And the tricky part of that is a lot of times when that happens, you have to find a network that's accessible wherever you may be, in Iowa or California or wherever. But with the Blue Cross Blue Shield network that you access, that's the largest national network in the country. So it is very easy to find a Blue Cross Blue Shield provider in most cities in the U.S.
Well, and that's another thing, actually, when she mentioned that. So Rome, we're pretty close to the Alabama border. There could be some people working in Rome that live in Center Alabama.
Time. Yeah, it happens all the time.
And so, but they're covered.
They access the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama PPO network. That's exactly right. And that's the best network in Alabama. So that's why inherently Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem plans are very good plans if they're affordable. And that's why the Smart Chamber is such a good option, because it usually is more affordable and you get the great network to go along with it.
So they live in Centra. They're covered by insurance over there, but through the Rome, Georgia Chamber Smart Chamber plan.
That's right. Because the company has to be domiciled in the state of Georgia. That's correct.
Okay.
That's a good word, domiciled.
Domiciled. That's a fancy insurance word. You like that?
I like it.
Just throwing stuff out for y'all. These are little nuggets for y'all.
That's our word for the day. All right. So tell us more about like Gallagher. You guys are huge, global.
Yes.
But you're kind of the local guy when Carly needs a question answered.
That's exactly right.
Always.
No, Carly only asks good questions. She only asks good questions. Yeah, we are. So we're excited that we are part of Gallagher now. That was a transition that we were acquired back in May of 2021. So now it's almost 2 years since that happened. We are now fully Gallagher.
But before that, we
were Garner and Glover.
Right.
Garner and Glover had been here since 1874, right. I think. So we were those guys that basically sold a business that was almost 150 years old, which we did that for a number of reasons. My partner, Matt Sermons, and I, it's been a great situation. Gallagher brings a whole nother level of expertise and knowledge and know-how, not only to our employees that have a better opportunity to grow through the Gallagher network, but also for all these employers in Northwest Georgia. Our job is to really grow the Gallagher brand from, basically north of Atlanta up to Chattanooga. There is no Chattanooga Gallagher office. So that's really what they brought us here to do or purchased us, is to really work that area, the 75 corridor up to Chattanooga, and really talk about what Gallagher brings to the table. It is a large, large company, the third largest broker in the world, 30,000 employees. It's massive. But when you get down to it, at the end of the day, it's an insurance brokerage. And really that's what we're doing, are insurance-based practices, whether it's property and casualty, whether it's home and auto, whether it's employee benefits, what I do. And there's also a 401k retirement arm as well. There's different practice areas that go into the overall makeup of Gallagher.
So one of the things they were acquiring to be this huge global brand, they were acquiring the local relationships.
Exactly. That's what
the long-standing brand.
Yep.
How long you guys have been around? What is your personal background?
My background, I grew up here in Rome, went to Darlington, graduated from Darlington in 1990, a long time ago. I'm old. And then graduated from UGA in 1995.
Go Dogs.
Yes, go Dogs.
Is there a boo button on your board over there?
Only applause button, sorry.
Dang it.
There we go. We've heard a lot of that in the last 2 years, I think, Roger, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Oh, yeah, good times for y'all.
It all comes around. We know that. And then moved back to Rome.
Well, I started, but you also, you kind of had to go through the back end of the Ray Goff years when you were in college.
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
it was,
sorry.
Believe me, Pam, we've been there. I read your Facebook posts after games. It's like the best.
I do too. They're classic.
Oh, they're so good. So good. You need to, you should be a writer. I think you've got to.
I'm going to do a top 10 of this podcast.
Nobody's going to read that. But I like your thoughts there.
Okay.
Anyway.
I came back to Rome in 99, got married in 99. Yeah, I got married when I moved back here. And then
For the record, Chuck just doubted his anniversary.
I was like, man, is it 2000 or 99? No, I've still got a couple years for our 25th anniversary. So yeah, I've been here ever since. I joined Gallagher Glover in 99. And
that was a good year for you.
It was a good year. I did a lot of things in 99.
A lot of things.
And really been in the insurance industry ever since.
You and Prince.
Yes. We partied a lot in 1999. Yes. Carly's like, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah. Prince was a rock star, Carly.
I know who Prince is.
Carry on. We're so sorry, Chuck.
I tend to digress.
No, you're good. So really, ever since then, we have been helping employers at Gallagher Glover up until 2021, and now continue with Gallagher, find solutions for basically their employee benefits programs. That's my role, is whether it's large group, small group. With the Smart Chamber, we just found out, but that was news to me, that the Smart Chamber plan is now doing a Smart Chamber Plus for groups 50 to 100, because Smart Chamber's 2 to 50.
Oh yeah.
So now they've added another piece to that. So that was news to me, because obviously there's all size groups that we deal with, but we deal with large groups, 1,000 employees plus, and we deal with 2-person groups. So we run the gamut.
This new piece, I meant to tell Chuck the other day, this new piece for 51 employees and over is going to be great for some of our manufacturers. I think a lot of times in this community, when we say manufacturer, they think of our big guys that have 600 employees, whereas most of our manufacturers have probably 50 or 60.
Yeah, in that range.
And are super successful and make millions of dollars, but they only have 60 employees. Yep. And so we're excited to explain that to them. Yeah.
Well, in some of those, you start the math of that. If you as an employer are saving X dollars per employee in your health care coverage that you provide, and you start multiplying by that times 51 people to the bottom line of the business, it makes it much healthier. Yeah. But 3 years before the SMART plan, how would you help navigate people? It was just a hassle, wasn't it?
Well, it was a hassle, and then ACA came along in 2014, and that just, I mean, you talk about a hassle, that became even more of a hassle. So, and really, the Smart Chamber, and we have other plans called level funded plans. These are all in response to ACA. You know what happens when government bureaucracy. I'm not going to go on a rant here, but
I'll join you.
Yeah, exactly. It's a second podcast.
Yes, that's another podcast. But what happens is smart business people figure things out, and that's what's happened. So we are now 9 years now since the ACA was basically enacted, and ACA has a very good role for certain things that it does. We are huge proponents of their certain things. They put in qualifiers at the age 26 that every child has coverage on their parents' plan up until age 26. That was a no-brainer. Before that, they basically had to be a full-time college student, which made no sense. So there's a lot of good things with the ACA. The bad parts were the rating elements of it. And so that's what these companies have done away with and allowed us to basically help employers, again, based on the merits of the group. If we're a healthier group, we get better rates. If we're not a healthy group, we get higher rates. And most employers understand that.
So I know we touched on it earlier. You're kind of on this side of it, but you mentioned that there's some other benefits that Gallagher does.
Yes.
So how do you handle that if somebody comes to you and say you pass off to a colleague?
Yep. Exactly. So there's a referral system in place, and basically we have people that do property and casualty in our office. We have people that do home and automobile insurance in our office. We have references for 401k retirement plans out of the Atlanta office. Gallagher has these practice areas, and I was telling Roger before. I almost called you somebody else.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
No, exactly. I was telling Roger earlier that basically all these practice areas, they don't want you to be the jack of all trades. Like, they don't want me to be the health and welfare guy, and they try to be the retirement guy. And try to be the life insurance guy and the property and casualty. So just kind of stay in your lane, but there's references and basically referral systems in place to find that expert. And that's really what makes Gallagher work at the end of the day.
How many employees do you have here in town?
We have 22 in town. 22 in total employees in town, all, working locally here. We do have one remote employee that works in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's part of our team. She does a great job. She used to live here. She moved there for her husband's work. But yeah, we've got a great team, work really hard, taking care of employers, taking care of employees, taking care of, our insureds. And that's really what we do. And the nature of our business is that the expectation is for that office to grow. We've got a lot of space. I know we hosted a chamber after hours in January, which was a lot of fun. But our job is to really grow that office and grow the Gallagher footprint here in Northwest Georgia.
Yeah, that's a big office.
It is a big office.
As a selling point for you guys at the chamber, You mentioned sometimes people just don't really kind of understand what the chamber does, and it's about networking. But this is
tangible.
This is a real financial benefit. So is this a push now? Make people aware of this and
I think Carly already has been since she came on board. I mean, I think she was smart enough to pick up on the fact that it's a great benefit. So as she's looking at this flyer with 20 benefits on it, I think she immediately honed in on this insurance piece. Wait, why are people not taking advantage of this? So it's definitely a selling point.
Oh, yeah. Carly. I mean, the health insurance, when I came on, reading, again, all the benefits, I could go on for a very long podcast about all the benefits the chamber offers. But
you just go right ahead. I'll fix a sandwich and we'll just sit and listen.
And, some people just had no idea what the chamber did or had no interest in being part of it because they thought it was a social club. It is so much more than networking, like what you were saying, even though those events are great and, you get to meet people. This health insurance, I was shocked when I learned that this health insurance could only cover just 2 full-time employees. I mean, that's huge for a workforce environment in today's world. I mean, that gives you up, like what we said earlier, a leg up on trying to hire people to not have so much turnover, to have lifelong employees that you put in that work and they stay. And then it's just kind of a positive reinforcement.
And I think it helps too. Has Alex in our office been on this podcast?
Yes, about HR.
Yeah.
So and
I can't get him to stop talking.
We know. And don't give him some subject. He'll just talk for hours. If you're ever bored, I'll send him and Carly both. They just talk the whole time.
Carly and I joked about having a morning radio show of our own to talk college football and stuff. But
people really just love to hear me.
She's the star of the show. No doubt.
Who's Roger?
No doubt. Yeah, I'm the straight man. That's right. To her comedic genius.
Yeah. He runs the board. Alex does work for us. And so when we do one-on-one consultations with some of our members, because sometimes companies will come to us and say, please help us. Like, we just can't hire anyone. And so we'll kind of go through a checklist. Well, do you do this? Do you do this? And so when we ask, what benefits do you offer your employees? And if they say we don't even offer health insurance, then he can immediately say, well, number one, that's why everyone else is getting the employees, not you.
Right.
But how about this? We can help you. So we can fix this for you if you're willing, to invest in this. So I think it's kind of full circle in our office of how it helps everyone.
So, what is the process for the business?
Yes.
They reach out to you. They reach out to you.
They reach out to me directly. Basically we go through a quoting process because, as we mentioned, the census starts it. So we send a census to the group. The employer fills out the census with all the eligible employees. An eligible employee is, 30 hours or more per week is usually what we stick with.
I was going to ask,
Yep.
does part-time count? Or
it does, depending on what type of part-time employee is. So 1099 employees, part-time, it really depends on what you deem, I say you, as the employer deem as full-time employees.
Okay.
Now, can we do, 5-10 hours? No, they are going to require a wage and tax report when we complete the final paperwork. And that really deems, okay, who is full-time, who is not full-time. But the employer has more control over that than they do in any other situation. Because really, at the end of the day, they're going to pay for it. And that's a good point. The employer is responsible for 50% of the employee-only premium. So this is, Carly probably gets this question, how much of this do I have to pay? Well, when you're doing a group plan, there's individual and group. Individual means we could all purchase an individual policy and I'd pay 100% of it myself. But on a group plan, the employer's got to pay a portion, otherwise it wouldn't be group. So their responsibility is 50% of that employee-only premium. So if it's a $400 premium, employer pays $200, employee pays $200. And then if I want to add my children, then obviously that may be on me, or the employer can pay as much as they want, but the requirement is at least 50%.
All right, what do most employers do?
That's a great question. So depending on the size and depending on what they do, we have some that just do 50%. Obviously, that's the minimum. We have a lot of employers that do 100% of employee-only coverage, but they don't cover dependents. That kind of shifted really kind of ACA and a little bit through COVID. Employers began really looking at, I got to take care of my employees. I can't take care of dependents and spouses. I want to make sure my employees have good coverage, and to be able to keep this coverage at the level we want, we've got to make some cuts. And dependents and spouses were the first place.
So, but then the employee can add dependents and spouse,
Their own cost.
but at their own cost.
Yeah, it comes through payroll deduction. That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's an area some employers still will pay 50% across the board for all their coverages, which is a great benefit. We just have less of those employers doing that now than we did 10 years ago, for sure.
And some of that's what the employer needs to do to attract the quality of employees.
It's a huge area.
Because if they, she said, the reason why you're not getting your employees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to be honest with folks sometimes.
It's a cost thing. And a lot of times we kind of joke, it's not a joke, but at the end of the day, the paycheck for these employees is what matters. They want good insurance. They want those things, but they also know at the end of the day, I've got to bring home X. And health insurance can be so expensive that you just, if you're not willing to pay something as an employer, you're not going to get a quality employee, and they're going to go somewhere else because they can get it somewhere else, probably at a cheaper level.
And these are just crazy times.
Yeah.
I mean, would you have imagined 20 years ago that we would be in an ACA situation, or we'd be in this where everyone's fighting for employees?
Exactly.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
All right, I got a really in the weeds question for you. Say you got a small business. It's owner and 2 employees. So there's 3 employees.
Yep.
But the 2 employees are already getting great coverage through their spouse's plans at their jobs.
Yep.
But this owner is wanting to offer this smart plan.
Mm-hmm.
He has the employees, but they're not going to participate.
Great question.
He's out.
He's out. Yeah. We got to have 75% participation to make it work. And the only caveat to that is 75%. So if we got 5, we need 3 basically. But the waivers, if they have
there's math there.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll slow down. Make sure we all understand. Yeah. If we have eligible waivers, an eligible waiver is for someone, let's say if they were on their parents' coverage because they're under 26, that's an eligible waiver. That doesn't count against you. So now we could have, in essence, 2 on the plan. But at the end of the day, we still got to have at least 2 on the plan. We can't go for less than 2. But 75% is the requirement. Because what happens, this is where insurance companies, they figured this out a long time ago. It's called adverse selection. So if we get a 10-person group and we only get 2 of them, it's probably the only 2 that need the insurance, right?
Right.
And
so
that's going to cost us money.
That's going to cost you money.
They prefer not to insure that is where insurance companies go when it comes to that.
Because that's the risk on their
Exactly.
end.
So they can't charge enough premium to offset what the claims are going to look like. Exactly.
Yeah. See, that math makes sense to me.
Yeah. See,
that was a good question, though.
It is.
Well, because wonder small businesses, but I hadn't even thought about the kids still on their parents because they may be full time at 24, but they're already covered.
That's right, exactly. Or they're on their spouse's plan, or they're valid waivers out there everywhere. What we've seen, and this is unfortunately the sign of the times, is what Pam was saying. We see more and more uninsured employees. These are full time working employees, and they choose not to get health insurance. And obviously that kind of hits home to us when we sit down with those employees. We just did an enrollment last week, and I had a number of conversations. Should I do this? I was like, do you have coverage now? No. I have 3 children, and we're just like, but you got to understand it's that paycheck. I mean, it's not cheap to insure 3 children on a plan. So those are the type of things when you really get down to it. And we have programs, obviously Peach Care and other programs in place for a lot of those type things. But there's still an uninsured population in Northwest Georgia and in Georgia alone that we hope Smart Chamber and other plans like it will help mitigate.
I was going to say, I get this question a lot.
Okay.
If you are a business owner and own 3 businesses that are still considered small, can they all go in together on one plan, or it all has to be separate?
You can do that if there's common ownership, which it sounds like in this case there would be common ownership, and there's got to be some type of entity that bonds them together, like
a bigger
holding company or something like that.
LLC.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that happens a lot. So back in the ACA days when we were dealing with that, the threshold was 50 or more employees. So still today, ACA, if you have 50 or more employees, you're required to offer health insurance. 2 to 50 are not required. So what was happening is large employers were basically splitting up their smaller companies to stay under that 50 threshold that didn't want to offer insurance. That's kind of come and gone now. But yeah, you can do that, but there's got to be something that binds those together.
This still applies for the Chamber Smart Plan.
Yes, that still applies to the same.
That's a good question.
Smart. Yep.
And you mentioned family members. So grown children can be on the plan. It just can't be the husband, wife. So
That's right.
if the mom is the owner, daughter works for her, and then a third, could just be just the two of them.
Yeah.
Then the grown child can be on the plan.
Right.
Yeah.
As an employee.
Yeah.
When are we going to change it where like you can be on your parents' plan until you're like 50 or something?
That would be great.
It's probably coming, Roger. It's probably coming if I had to guess. Just wait. Just be patient.
You think you've seen it all.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just be patient.
Well, this has been fascinating. Is there anything else we want to make sure we touch on, or you want to?
The 401k plan I definitely want to touch on. It's Gallagher here does not do it, but the Gallagher office in Atlanta.
They help sponsor that plan. Exactly.
So it's actually with Transamerica, but again, it is to provide, smaller employees be able to offer a 401k plan, and then Transamerica takes all the paperwork pretty much from you, like
the hard part.
Yeah, the very, very hard part, the very confusing part. It is still confusing,
and it only
to me.
requires 2 employees. So if a company wanted to provide 401k plans, they only have to have 2 employees.
And that would be a match, but.
You can basically create that plan however you want to. It can be a safe harbor. It doesn't have to be a safe harbor, but you're in the Transamerica. Basically, they're the bookkeeper, and they handle all the administration of the plan.
But because they're bringing in lots of little businesses, that it's
same
idea.
Same idea. Association. That's exactly right.
And so is that considered part of the SMART plan? Or is it a different?
They just call it something else.
It's just a different thing.
Yeah,
but
it's the exchange plan with the chamber. So it does get kind of confusing because we do have a Gallagher here in Rome. But
and if somebody calls us about that, we can definitely refer them to the Transamerica. We have relationships with them, and one of the main people behind that Gallagher program, he actually works in Atlanta, and he's got 401k business here locally in Rome that we've worked with him on. And they've done this in Florida as well, and that's one of the big areas that they've done this down in Ocala, Florida. So a lot of moving parts there, but yeah, it's still Gallagher. It's just a different practice area of Gallagher.
Well, and as the word has gotten out about this, I mean, are you seeing an increase in numbers in the local businesses participating in this?
Definitely. Pam asked me the other day over the last.
Because Carly keeps beating.
Yes, exactly. Now I'm taking phone calls after phone call, which is great. I got to cut Carly in on some commissions or something. But, I'm waiting for that phone call. That's going to be the next phone call.
You can pay us in cupcakes.
Yeah, exactly. I can definitely do that as long as I get one. But yeah, we've seen an increase over the last 3 years. When we started, it was brand new. We were more educating on this is what this is. It's new. It's something to look at. And I'll tell you who jumped on it early. It was all rate driven. It was, I'll probably get in trouble saying this, but it's basically small male dominated employer groups. So if you think about rate structure, young males, that's a home run for health insurance. They don't go to the doctor. If they even are sick, they probably don't even do anything about it. We add females, there's babies, and there's lots of other things that come along with females. So our small contractors that had all males, we saw rates that were just crazy low, and they jumped all over it. And that was the beginning. And now over time, they probably have, they've got their rates dialed in more over the last 3 years, but still the right group with the right medical makeup. I mean, it's significant savings on this plan. It really is.
And it's not some low end insurer. It's
off the telephone pole.
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah, it's legit. It's very good insurance. And the plans, that's one thing we didn't talk about. You get to pick and choose the plans. There's probably 15 different plans you can choose from, with high deductibles, low deductibles, copays, no copays.
And it's their best plans that they offer first, right?
That's right.
That the employer gets to choose.
Correct.
To choose to offer to their employee.
That's right.
The employee doesn't get access to all that.
That's
the
right.
employer can say, this is what I want to offer to my.
Exactly. This is what I'm going to offer. Here's the plan that we're willing to, because at the end of the day, they've got some skin in the game too because of that employer portion that they're going to pay. That's exactly right.
Okay. Well, how can people get more information? Websites, phone numbers, emails?
Well, you can always reach out to me at kparker@realmga.com, or you are more than welcome to call the chamber and ask questions about even if y'all are not members, what does this look like? What are other benefits the chamber offers? And then I will directly send you to Chuck.
Which is perfectly fine.
Yeah. I felt like we just kept asking Chuck questions. It was like Stump Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, this is a fun game.
If we keep going, you will stump me. At some point, I'm going to forget something for sure. Been doing it too long.
Website, contact information for you?
So my contact information is Chuck_Shaw at ajg.com. That's Arthur J. Gallagher. That's the fancy name. And then, our phone number is 706-291-7380. We're on East 8th Avenue. We always tell people we're underneath the AutoZone, which is
and
super.
Hardee's.
And Hardee's. Not a bad place to be.
I cannot tell you in this podcast, when people start telling where they're located in Rome, Georgia, we always reference a restaurant.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Oh yeah, we're across from
Waffle House, Bojangles, whatever it may
well,
be.
Waffle House. You got to be more specific.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, it's always like. We're downtown across from El Zarapi right here in the the Hardy on Broad Studios. Pam, do you let people contact you?
They can anytime. They can email me or call the chamber, psmith@romega.com. And I just want to say the word domicile one more time.
There we go. Get it in one more time.
All right. Well, this has been fascinating. This is a game changer. This is like I had not heard of this, so
yeah.
It's a game changer because I know small business people, they're so overwhelmed sometimes by the stuff they don't see coming. Oh, I got to pay taxes.
Right.
I've signed the lease and now I want, but they're wanting to do what they do because that's their enjoyment, whether it's a dress shop or a bakery or whatever. That's what they want to do. But there's always these business things hanging over you. And this is a game changer.
It really is. And I think that's where people just need to look at it and see if it fits for them. When that census part, it's just a quote. You're not signing up for anything by doing that. You look at the numbers, we compare it. Whether if you already have a plan, we can compare it to your current plan. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And then at least they know. They have the idea of, okay, I understand this is a great benefit, but maybe it's not as rich as their current plan, or maybe the rates aren't as good for whatever reason. But I think it's definitely worth a shot.
Well, and plus an entrepreneur probably has never thought of, I can actually provide insurance if I only have this one employee or two employees.
Yeah.
They don't even think of it as an option because they know it's so expensive, but it can be done.
It definitely can be done, and it's being done. So, yeah.
Well, great.
Don't wait.
Should we do this?
Yay for health insurance.
Yay,
This was a
health
great
insurance.
episode.
That woke everybody up. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, okay. I remember where we are now.
Well, thank y'all so much for being here.
Thank you.
This has been the Rome Floyd Chamber Small Business Spotlight here on Rome Business Radio. We broadcast from the Hardy Realty Studios on Broad Street, and we work in cooperation with the Rome News Tribune. Thank you so much for listening.